Hello, good to see you again. This is Crispin Sanford on my Administrate Life channel on Facebook, YouTube. Good Lord. I've been working on a series of presentations. As you know from this channel, I presented at the Life, the Universe and Everything Symposium in Provo, Utah, where I went through my own materials developed based on a principle and surrounding the principle of creating true fans. And there was an article which I'm going to discuss, but this was my introduction, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So and this is the first in a series of videos on true fans and how to create them in order to build your movement. So this was my introduction. I'm going to read through it and then discuss it, and you will have it. So imagine, if you will, a couple of these concepts in a board behind me. And I know that I'm going to be putting together videos. Obviously, I make them available to you guys. But this is part of the process, right? This is part of what I recommend doing. Making available why you do what you do and how you do it to your public, to the people that are your audience, to people you want to help, and help them to become a part of your movement. So I'm sharing this for free. And just providing it to you, just loose and dirty, as it were. So, but imagine these concepts, right? So this is a concept I truly believe in. I'm sure you would imagine. I'm sure you know this by now. I want to help you make your dream a reality. I want to help you make your reality a dream and your dream a reality. Right, Crispin Sanford. Another concept. People like us do things like this. That's Seth Godin. And permission marketing. This is content that is anticipated, personal, and relevant. Again, this concept was introduced in the book Permission Marketing by, again, Seth Godin. Seth also talks about the connection economy. There are going to be different times where I focus on some material from Seth Godin or Russell Brunson. There are some key principles that I am a big believer of, and a tool that I recommend from Frank Kern. Right, but at the moment, this is Seth Godin that I'm referring to particularly. So he discusses the connection economy, and an economy based on the value created by building relationships and creating opportunities for people to make connections. At least that's my interpretation of the things that he discusses. So in the course of this whole presentation, I will show you how to become a source of change in people's lives. Become the hub of a connection economy, a source point, and the reason people make connections, where, quotes, people like us do things like this. If you become the source point of a connection economy, you have the opportunity to make something great. A growing movement that more and more people can and want to become a part of. A movement that itself becomes a source of change. I ask that you make the greatest kind of change, positive change. Let's be great. Okay, so my name is Crispin Sanford, as I said. I worked for 5.5 years in business development at the #1 marketing firm for marketing systems for financial advisors. It was called Bill Good Marketing. Hello, Bill. Learned so much there. Again, I interchange, I'm going to be sharing ideas of people I've learned from, like Bill Good, people like Seth Godin, people like Russell Brunson. And I encourage you to do the same. I also encourage you, when you're sharing videos, when you're providing content, that you give credit where that credit is due to. There's nothing worse than trying to steal from others, but there's nothing better than giving credit where credit is due, taking responsibility for your movement, but giving credit to those who work with you, those whose ideas have inspired you. I definitely want to encourage you to do that. But while there, I was made promoted to vice president of business development after I got, week after week, 10 plus hot prospects. A hot prospect defined by Bill Good is interested in our services, qualified for them, and ready to begin the sales process, right? And I did this week after week, month after month, brought in the highest month in business development sales in over 8 years. It was triple, I think just around about triple what I'd ever done before that. As I said, that was the best result in that department, in that division, that area. It was a department until I got promoted, and it was a division, right, as vice president. It was the best result in 8 years, and the income for my area had doubled in just over 2 years, 2 years and 1 month. The income had doubled from my area, from business development. So I got promoted, needless to say. Now I have in this time, in that 5.5 years, I don't remember exactly when it was, later, but I heard about a blog post written by Chris Kelly, and it was written in 2006. Chris Kelly is the co-founder of Wired magazine, and the blog post was called 1,000 True Fans. His position, and you should read the article, is that if an artist aims at getting 1,000 true fans, people who are willing to pay, this is his definition, $100 at least once over the course of a year on your product and merchandise, this is a true fan. Now, if you focus on getting 1,000 of those true fans, you would get an annual revenue, once you hit that target, of $100,000 a year. He also proposes that artists should aim at that rather than aiming at, just a general being a blockbuster and achieving blockbuster numbers. Now, that's less likely to occur, fact, and it's more likely that you'll be able to achieve the 1,000 true fans goal. And also, having done the work necessary to accomplish that and achieve those 1,000 true fans, to then go beyond and, who knows, maybe hit blockbuster numbers. It's a lot more likely because you would know what you've done to build your fans, you know what you're doing to build a movement, and so it is much more. You've done the work to make it more possible to achieve blockbuster success, right? There are other people who I'm learning from and studying about ways in which you can control that exponential growth, that massive growth, and I'm going to share that with you too. I'm reading a book by Rob Kosberg, and Publish, Promote, Profit, right? It's a book on writing your own book, building your own audience, etc., and getting press and profiting from it. Interestingly enough, he also is somebody that advocates, instead of aiming for blockbuster numbers, excuse me, that you aim for results, right? He said he was making millions and had a huge movement, at the point of having sold 50,000 books, right? So it's not just going for 1 million book sales, or hitting the highest numbers, but the results, when you do the work to get the results that you're aiming at, and you're in control of that, then the success you're aiming for is much more likely. So I personally believe that, as I've just said, artists building on this achievement can go higher, they can hit blockbuster numbers, but having first succeeded in achieving 1,000 true fans. They can also be true to themselves, true to the work, and true to their fans, instead of trying to hit this general mass market. We all see these movies when there are people pulling strings and putting pressure on and doing all kinds of things to manipulate and get this mass market audience and get results. And they don't always work. They have an impact on the artist, right? They don't always have an impact on the success of that artist. And they may actually be negative in terms of the work that artist produces. We all know how, someone it's like a classic figure, someone like Marilyn Monroe was encouraged and urged to do all these various things, and they weren't necessarily healthy for her. and she died. You know, we're not saying as a direct consequence, but as far as I can tell, it was a result of all these manipulations, all these efforts to hit a mass market, a mass audience, get the most money, get the most bang, as opposed to working on the true work and getting the real results and doing what was possible to build a movement, do great work, etc. So anyway, presentation, this series of episodes on the subject of true fans. It's going to cover how you can create 1,000 true fans. And I want you to write down, I want you to think about what do you want to get out of this series? How do you think you could create 1,000 true fans? And I want, especially those who have another source of income, aside from what they're making from their art, to consider that be included in your strategy, as opposed to denying it and pushing it away, and you want to get away from that and you hate that. Is it possible to have a broad strategy that includes your current source or sources of income, as well as your source of income from your art, from building a movement? I do have friends who are solely producing and making their living from their art. I imagine I'll have those individuals as guests on my YouTube channel at some point. But also I want you to consider the different sources of income you're getting, different ways in which you've made money in your life, and how they may be able to be included in your whole strategy. People very often living in denial, or trying to have a public denial at least, of how they make their living, and I don't think that works. I don't think that's working for people when they do that. And then also I want you to look at what you're trying to accomplish over the next couple of years, because this is what we're going to be. This is where we're going to help you get the most results, right? What is your goal over the next 2 years, and how can we make your goals be accomplished and become a thing of the past that you can then expand on? But it's much more realistic, as my boss, as Bill Good would say, my boss from Bill Good Marketing would say, it's much more realistic to look at a 2-year plan than a 10-year dream. It's much more like dreaming when it's 5 years, even 4 years. And much more of a strategy and a plan when you're looking at where you are now, where you aim to get in 2 years, and the steps that you're going to take to attain those goals and achieve those aims. Okay, good. So that's episode 1. That's an introduction to this whole concept. Obviously, in a couple of the earlier videos, part 1 and part 2, discussing the success of that presentation. We've introduced you to these concepts, a lot of these ideas, but now we're going to take you through them one at a time. Guys, wish you all the best. I'm going to end on this note. I actually just wrote this. This is a piece I'm going to share at some point in various different avenues, different ways in which I release and make materials available. But it's called Noblesse Oblige. For those of you who don't know that, it's the noble obligation. This is the idea that those who have an advantage are in a position of power or authority or talent, that they have an obligation to help those that don't have that advantage. And I distinguished 2 different people in this article that I've written just before I actually went live. Because there are those who believe that people who are ahead should be helped, right? The people who have the advantage, that are in the lead, that are the most famous, most well-known, best positioned, that everyone behind them, beneath them, should do everything they can to support that individual, even sacrifice themselves for the advantage of the other, that they should be contributing to that individual in order to hit the win, right? And some of those people may benefit. Those who are being sacrificed don't benefit particularly. But that's one idea, that's one belief system. There's another belief system, and we can call that like the star mindset. Let's call it the star mindset. And there are other people who believe that they, when they have an advantage, should help others. That people beneath them, around them, they should give the most information to them. They should help those people as much as they can. They should help lift up those that are behind them. They should provide them with information and wisdom and insight that comes from a place of advantage, of authority, natural talent, etc. and this this mindset. Let's call it the ensemble mindset. There's acting, there's a star system, there's an ensemble play or group where a bunch of character actors or group of actors work together and they all share in the limelight, right? There's a group of them working together as opposed to just supporting one star and everyone, giving them the best shots, the best lighting, etc. Now, I believe in the second mindset. I can imagine you would know that, right? And I think that, as well as being something that's noble, right? The noble obligation, help those less advantaged than you are. I also think that there's a practical result of this. And not everyone's thinking of it in the noble sense. They may just simply be thinking, this is going to be the best way for us to win, right? If I'm providing and giving everything I can to you, to the team, even the least among the team, then that helps create the best results possible. We're going to win because of that mindset. So it doesn't just have to be a noble view, it can be just a purely practical view of the way to win, this ensemble mindset. And the main figure may have the most responsibility, they may be the most visible, and they may even still get the greatest gains from the results of this method, this practice, this mindset. But nevertheless, they give credit, they share credit, they share the advantages and the benefits and the gains. They're very generous. They provide help and support and insights to everyone around them. And they defend the people on the front lines and give them cover. And aren't willing just to sacrifice for an advantage or to avoid any kind of kerfuffle or difficulty. They just want to, get ahead and win, and they don't mind sacrificing or cutting people loose. Know that they believe in defending even the furthest edges of the group. So as I said, this is my belief. This is why I share so much. This is why I want to share this information with you, and I encourage you to do the same with your group, your movement, the things that you're doing, the people around you, is to help those behind you and around you, and give them what they need, what they can then use to advance themselves. And I believe this, people, when you're training the people around you, when you're giving to the people around you, when you're putting people in a position around you to truly win, then we all together, the whole group together, wins. And I think it's a much healthier win. I think it's a much better way to live. And I encourage you to consider that as a way to move forward. All right, guys, that's it from me. And I look forward to next time. Bye, guys.